Good morning, my dear students. Good morning, one and all. Welcome to the second session of the course. The topic name is Hosting, Transcoding, and Configuring Video with S3 Objects Lambda and Detecting PII Data and Transforming Data. We need to discuss in the specific lecture. Okay, the first one is we need to discuss about that S3 Object Lambda transforms data for your applications. It's easy to share data with the multiple apps when you store in Amazon S3. You might have to modify or process your data for a specific use case if your application has a unique data format requirements. The e-commerce applications might create data sets that contain PII, like a personally identifiable information. Data that's processed for analytics shouldn't have a PII, so it should be redacted. It might be necessary to enrich the data with additional details like information from the loyalty database if the same data set is used for a marketing campaign. You can add your own code to S3 Object Lambda to process data before returning it to an application mode. The S3 Object Lambda access point lets you attach an AWS Lambda function. Through the S3 Object Lambda access point, an application can send standard S3 GET request to S3 buckets, and the Lambda functions will process the data fully. Then the application gets the transform results back from the S3 Object Lambda access point. And with the S3 Object Lambda, you can create your custom Lambda functions to tailor the data transformation to your specific use case, all without changing your application mode. Okay, the next one is we need to discuss about the getting started with the S3 Object Lambda. Lambda functions can be invoked directly from an S3 GET request using an S3 Object Lambda access point. So data can be retrieved from the access point and processed. You need to specify the Lambda function and provide the event context in JSON format as custom parameters when you create and configure an S3 Object Lambda access point. So how to make an S3 Object Lambda access point? We need to discuss some points from 1 to 10 and 1 to 13. We need to discuss one by one. The first step will be on a visit https://console.aws.amazon.com/s3/ to sign into the AWS Management Console. Go to the left navigation pane and click Object Lambda Access Points. Select Create Object Lambda Access Point from the Object Lambda Access Point page. Understand? Enter the name you want for Object Lambda Access Point. Select the standard access point you made in the step 3 for supporting access points. And select Get Object in S3 APIs to get objects for Lambda functions to process. You can use either of the following two options for invoke Lambda functions. And select the Lambda functions you created in step 4 from the list of functions in your account. So choose enter ARN, then enter the Lambda functions Amazon resource name like ARN. If you are choosing a Lambda function version, choose $latest. It means the latest version you created in step 4. You can choose the Lambda function supports range request, and Lambda function supports part number request if you need your Lambda function to recognize and process get request. You can clear and these two boxes if you don't want to. If you want to know to use your ranges or part numbers with S3 Object Lambda, you just understand the concept. To provide your Lambda functions with additional information, under payload and go to the optional and add your JSON text like a JSON text. As input for all Lambda functions originating from a particular S3 Object Lambda access point, you can pass a payload. You can customize the behavior of Object Lambda access points that invoke the same Lambda function by configuring payload parameters with different values. Okay, just to check it out the payload page for more information. And next step will be on the Amazon S3 monitoring can be enabled or disabled for request metrics. It's optional, but the Amazon CloudWatch rate applies the request metrics here. The default setting should be kept under Object Lambda access point policy. That's also the possible point because the resources policies are optional. You can use this resource policy to grant the get object API access to the specified object Lambda access point. The rest of the settings should stay the same. So choose your create object Lambda access point. Okay, the next we need to discuss about that a pre-built Lambda function can be configured and deployed. What are the steps we need to understand? For S3 object Lambda access points, configure and deploy the comprehend PIR redaction S3 object Lambda pre-build function we need to discuss. The Lambda function need to be configured and deployed. So what about the first step? Access the AWS serverless application repository and look at the comprehend PII redaction S3 object Lambda function. Second will be on keep the default value for application settings for this level. You can give this application a name. This might be useful if you plan on configuring multiple Lambda functions for different datasets. And the mask character should be left at the default. Okay, so redacted PII is replaced with the mask character. Mask mode should be left at the default to mask. It means a PII hyphen identity, PII underscore entity underscore type, or the mask character determines whether the PII entity is redacted. The PII entity types should be set to all to redact all types of data. The PII entity types value specify what PII entity type should be redacted. Don't change anything else here, because depending on your use case, you can configure additional settings in the readme file section. You can acknowledge this as application create steps and custom IAM roles by checking the box and deploy it. And finally, just choose the logical ID of the Lambda function that you deployed on the new application page, and just to check it out under resources mode. Okay, the next one is we need to discuss about the concept of with Amazon S3, Amazon CloudFront, and Amazon Route 53, you can stream video on demand mode. What are the process and steps we need to understand the concept of upload a video? So first we need to talk about that create an S3 bucket and upload a video. By using the console, you can upload a video file to an S3 bucket. You might want to use Amazon S3 transfer acceleration if you are uploading lots of big videos to S3, because the video uploads to your S3 bucket can be speed up with your transfer acceleration. So here's how to upload a file. First, visit the https://console.aws.amazon.com/s3/ to sign into the AWS management console. Second step, click buckets in the left navigation pane. Third step will be on choose your bucket from the bucket list and upload your files there. Fourth step, choose upload on the objects tab from your bucket. Fifth step, you can add your files on the upload page under files and folders. Sixth step, open the file you want to upload, and if you upload a sample.mp4, for example, you will get a video, then choose your upload process. Okay, with AWS Lambda, S3 batch operations and elemental media converter and batch transcode videos we need to discuss now. Media consumers enjoy media content on all kind of devices. The creators and the distributors have a tough time keeping up with this wide variety of devices. A video must be converted so that it can span a wide range of sizes, formats, and bit rates instead of being in a one size fits all format. If you have a lot of videos to convert, the task is even harder. So AWS lets you build a distributed, a scalable architecture that does the following process. The video input is ingested, processes videos for multiple devices, delivers the output media files when needed. If you have got lots of videos in Amazon S3, you can just transcode them into different formats, size, and resolution depending on what devices or player you are using. And AWS Lambda functions can be invoked for existing input videos in an S3 source bucket with the S3 batch operations. So AWS Elemental Media Convert is then called by Lambda functions to transcode video. A S3 bucket is used to store the converted output media files. Okay, make a Lambda function to transcode videos. What are the steps we need to understand about the final concept? The media files can be transcoded so they can be played or more videos and devices by changing encoding formats. Using the SDK for Python, you build a Lambda function to integrate with S3 batch operations and media convert. In S3 batch operations, you run jobs that directly invoke Lambda functions for each video in your S3 source bucket to start your transcoding process. Media convert then transcodes each video using the Lambda function. Make a deployment package and write a Lambda code. What about the step we need to follow? Number one will be on make a batch transcode folder on your computer. Second step will be on create a JSON file with the job settings and batch transcode. Try naming the file like a job.json using the settings provided in this model. And in the job.json file, you just find how to transcode the files, your input videos, and how you want them transcoded, what kind of output media files do you want, the name of the transcoded files, what to do with the transcoded files, choosing which advanced features to apply, everything we need to understand. The following job.json file creates the following outputs for each packet. So playback on multiple devices of varying sizes and bandwidths using the HTTP live streaming like a HLS, because you will need an MP4 video. So every so often we will collect the different type of thumbnails. This example like a job.json file optimizes video that quality with the quality defined variable bitrate. The short code is a QVBR. Because the HLS output is Apple compliant, it means audio unmixed from video and segment length of 6 seconds and auto QVBR for video optimization. You can create a job.json specification based on your use case if you don't want to use the example settings. Your inputs should have the same video and audio settings as your output to ensure consistency. Just to create a separate automation for each input file, like a unique job.json settings level. This is a major process. You have to understand the level of make a deployment package and write a Lambda code here. Okay, my dear students, I hope you have enjoyed the second session of the topic like hosting, transcoding and configuring videos with S3 object Lambda and detecting the PI data and transforming data.